Hello and welcome to this week's look at action and stunts on film and television, and in particular in festive flicks. We've got to that part of the year where it's time to recap on what's happened over the previous 12 months and take a look at our festive movie for this time round. And as you know, if you've listened to the podcast, we are looking at 1988's Die Hard, which gave the world Bruce Willis and also gave us the attention of Kai Johnson. Kai Johnson was his stuntman from the Moonlighting days. So he'd worked with, I think, on 48 episodes of Moonlighting as a stunt double. Pat Romano turned up for an episode or two, but primarily he was the guy who was responsible for making Bruce look good. You didn't need to do a great deal in order to make Bruce look good, but certainly from an action perspective, that's exactly what happened. When he moved on to work with Blake Edwards for Blind Date with Kim Basinger, he once again took over for the stunt doubling on the picture under the watchful eye of coordinator Joe Dunn. So consequently, when Die Hard came along, well, there was no choice. I mean, it was very, very simple. I'm not entirely convinced whether Kai was contracted to Bruce the way that some other doubles had been contracted to their actors, but most certainly he would have got first refusal and said, yeah, I'll do it. Thank you very much indeed. Bruce walked away with a very handsome fee, some $5 million. And when you consider that's effectively his second movie, that's not bad. And returns on the box office were even better. But I think a large proportion of this film works on the basis of how good Bruce Willis is and how streamlined the action is, again bearing in mind the time and that there would have been a great deal of CG if it had been done these days. Look at the subsequent pictures after that, particularly Die Hard with a Vengeance and beyond that point, where there's great deals of CG work going on. A great deal of this is done for real in varying capacities. But we're going to have a little look at some of the bits and pieces. Copyright suggests that we're not able to look at all of it, so you must forgive me for only looking at certain sections, but we do discuss it to the best of our ability. So eggnog in hand, and if you are drinking eggnog, by the way, grow up. It's terrible. It's absolutely shocking. Put it down. Pick up a Bailey's. That's terribly festive. There's never any milk in the house over the Christmas period when I'm around, you know. And sit back and relax and enjoy this, and we'll regroup at the end of this. Here we go. So, Die Hard from 1988. We should start, maybe, with noting one of the heavies. It's good to note that one of Gruber's team who stormed the towers that night is stuntman actor Al Leong, who's credited in over 100 movies as either a henchman or in a stunt capacity. As an actor, he's been in TV shows like Heart to Heart, Airwolf, The A-Team, Mike Hammer, and Magnum P.I., and you'll because he's instantly recognizable. Look at him. On the big screen, he's in a bunch of the Lethal Weapon movies. He's in Action Jackson. He's in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and a few movies with the muscles from Brussels himself, your man, JCVD. There's a couple of car things that need noting in this picture as well, particularly the moment in the movie where McClane is trying to get the attention of the police officer downstairs by inadvertently throwing a body on the bonnet. You know, the way you do when you're trying to get hold of somebody's attention. The car is then driven away at speed in reverse. Now, Geoffrey Brown is behind the wheel. He's driving the car. He's really got to shift it. You know, he's got to push it as far as it'll go. There's a little ramp jump part way along, a ramp to ground jump en route that takes the vehicle that little bit out of control slightly, which then allows him to veer off to his right and eventually off the upper level of a parking level and ground the boot end, the trunk end for you transatlantic folk, onto the lower level and trap it between the two. So it's very impressive, and particularly, again, saying that it's done for real. Joffrey, if you don't know, you will know him, but particularly from his bus jump in Speed in 1994. We've covered that before. Go and check it out if you haven't seen it already. The other vehicle gag in this picture is where the LAPD, they bring in it's a Ford Greyhound is what it's referred to storm the steps of the building. And stunt coordinator Charlie Piercini is behind the wheel. He gets an opportunity to have a crack at it. So he can drive anything. So, he clearly wants a slice of the action here and gets an opportunity to do so. Fighting-wise, and again, there's a number of great moments of fight-wise in this picture. The fight between Bruce Willis and Andreas Wysienski is another example of Charlie Piercini expecting the very best from his doubles, Kai Johnson doubling Willis and Andy Epper doubling Wysienski. But the actors have both got a background in theatre and dance. Bruce with theatre, he's very capable of dance, but Andreas trained as a dancer. So choreography wasn't something that was difficult to either of them. And in that final edit, majority of the fight is the actors, except for the fall down the stairs, where that's captured from a couple of camera angles, but it's very clearly the doubles. When you slow it down, it works in normal speed, but when you slow it down, it's very clearly them, as you can see here. And then you may start to notice at this point that Bruce isn't really barefoot throughout the movie. There's blood sliding about all over the place. He has the thing with the window, and there's blood all over the place. But it's not really barefoot. What he's doing, he's wearing, I want to call them feet slippers or foot slippers, similar to those created for Lord of the Rings. They're spongy enough to prevent actual injury from pieces of glass, for instance. So they are, they just slip on. In those closer sequences, then he has makeup applied to his feet to give the impression that he has actually stepped on the glass and the glass has cut the base of his foot. So, but it's very clever. And you spot it a couple of times during the picture, but only when you go back over it a few times. But it is there, but I'd never really spotted it until I started to rewatch it for this. Now, let's look at the rooftop and let's look at the fire hose leap. And it's, again, one of those memorable moments in the movie. McClane has attached himself to a fire hose around his waist and prepares to leap from the building as Gruber sets off those explosions. Now, Bruce is caught in close-up for part of this shot with the explosion going off behind him. So he will jump from a lower level and he'll jump into an airbag. It'll still be, he's still pretty close to that explosion and must have fire retardant gel placed on his body in case the fire catches up with him. Because you're dealing with the elements. It's not inside a studio. This is an actual building and there is actual weather going on. So it only takes a momentary breeze in the slightly different direction. And you could get caught in it. So he has to be prepared. And Charlie says, okay, well, we can use this, but you're going to go from a lower level and you're going to have the fire retardant stuff in it. What's he going to say? No. He says yes, does the right thing. So that makes a great deal more sense. Now, then you have the long shot of the real building with the explosion, and you see McClane falling with the hose attached to him. Now, this is stuntman Kenny Bates, who rode the hose down all the way until he crashed into the building as the tension kicks in. So you see him falling, and then he goes into the side of the building. Then there's a separate shot where he has to get out, push his way out, and then come in through the window. Now that's a studio shot when they come in, and that's Kai Johnson on the inside as he lands on the floor. So they work it out between them. Very clever stuff. And finally, you have the death of Gruber, which the climactic moments of the fall surround the villain plummeting to his death. And the actor is often asked to be involved in the lead up to the part of this, which he is, and then will be allowed to sit back while the professionals take the glory. Well, in this instance, Alan Rickman's face had to be front and centre. You had to see him falling away from camera, and he must fall far enough to allow the editor to then be able to cut at the right moment to still get the high part of the fall done for real. Now, Rickman was told that the wire rig that he was going to be wearing had a firing pin in the locking mechanism, which would be fired on the count of 3 when he falls into the airbag. So it's a 3 count, and he's going to fall into the airbag, which is 40 feet away. And that's some leap, 40 feet, particularly backwards. So they'd done this on 4 previous occasions. John McTiernan wanted one more and sent Rickman up again. Now, only this time would it be slightly different. Every time Rickman was given 3, 2, 1. And his face, because you would if you've done it for so long, but your face is preparing between 2 and 1. He's tensioned himself up. He's ready to go, and it's very evident. Apparently, so reading what John McTiernan, the director, had asked for, and what Charlie Piercini had said, it's very clear that it was evident that he was preparing himself for something. So McTiernan spoke to Charlie and asked if anything could be done. And what they came up with was cruel but effective. Once in place and the cameras were rolling, Rickman was given the same 3, 2, 1 countdown, but the firing pin was activated on 2. And by the time they'd got to 1, Rickman was already 20 feet down. So the expression you see in the movie is very genuine, which is why it works. Once again, it's very, very cruel, something that you wouldn't expect to do, but the effect is brilliant. And the high part of that fall it then cuts away to in the building is again Kenny Bates, who's one of the most experienced wire rig high fall men in the business. He used his decelerator, which maintains a steady fall speed, which is controlled by one of the stunt team. And at the end of the fall, it's possible just to see him start to change his body position as he falls behind the fencing surrounding the towers. It's absolutely brilliant. And it's a remarkable gag in a remarkable film, which is very clearly a festive action classic. There you go. That is Christmas all wrapped up in a box for you in an attractive building shape, with Bruce Willis doing his thing right the way through that. And some great work. There's some really terrific bits and pieces as well. That car gag, that's not easy. That's not easy to do. It's effectively blind driving. He knows where he's going, but there's a little jump just prior to that as well, which is very exciting to watch. And then when he does bury it from the upper landing to that lower parking level, well, it's spot on. Charlie Piercini jumping in and getting a bit of driving action as well with that military vehicle, and hats off to Alan Rickman, because that is no mean feat. Falling 40 feet into an airbag backwards is unbelievably complicated. I've gone forwards into an airbag, but I've never gone backwards. And 40 feet for an actor to do it, first time of asking. Rumour has it they did it 5 times, I've subsequently found out. And only on one occasion, which is the shot that you see in the movie, the one where the camera is placed on Rickman's face, is where they went early to get the reaction that they get from him. And how he didn't sue anybody at the end of it, I have no idea. But that is no mean feat. 40 feet is a big jump. Even though you're landing in a big airbag, you can always miss the airbag or slide off it if you're not in the right position. So he's done remarkably well to do that. And of course, the high part of that fall with Kenny Bates is exquisite. I mean, it really is. The type of work that they were doing back then with wires and rigs. And you can see by the movement that he's doing, it's absolutely staggering. So there we go. That's Die Hard. That's your Christmas all sorted. I hope you've enjoyed that. And, it only leads me to say thank you very much for everything you've done over the last 12 months. I've enjoyed your company enormously. You're looking very well. This year appears to be treating you very well. So I hope we've had a little bit to do with that. And we'll be back next year for more of the same. Don't forget that if you are interested in listening to the book that I'm currently narrating, which is the Bob Simmons book, Nobody Does It Better, we're doing it on the podcast, and that goes out every week. And will do. We're 2 chapters in, I think. Chapter 3 due to come out this coming Monday. And it'll be 12 episodes of that. So if you'd like to catch that, don't forget to check in with the podcast, and you will be able to find another chapter to enjoy over the coming weeks. We'll be back in the new year with brand new projects, exciting bits and pieces. And it just leaves me to wish you and your family a very, very happy Christmas. Have a wonderful new year, and we'll catch you all in 2025. Until then, it's bye for now.